Hi guys, just want to have a quick word about the magic sandwich show that Inmendham was on the other day. I thought Gary did really well, especially since he was met with such flippancy and vacant answers to the arguments and trolling. Thunderfoot was just being a troll. I mean, the first thing he said was, when he opened his mouth, he said, why do you eat when you could die whilst doing it? Bizarre. And everything he said was with a smirk as well. This is not an intellectual debate. I just had a little bit of a rant because it was kind of frustrating, and I was going to these debates and these things with an open mind. But these people are basically the self-proclaimed arbiters of intellect on the internet. They hold themselves up as the watermark for intellectual endeavour, and it's depressing to see them act like this when presented with an argument that they don't understand and can't handle. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, Thunderfoot said, why do you eat if you might choke to death whilst doing it? And I guess this was some kind of attempt to ridicule this risk equation idea. But it's not the argument being brought, is it? The risk equation, the significance of the risk equation part of this argument is that you're entering somebody else into a risk equation without their permission when you decide to procreate. I don't want to stick on the Natalism thing too much because the argument, the debate is actually a much wider debate than that. But yeah, so that's ridiculous. I mean, Thunderfoot, his field is science. I mean, I think most people watching this will probably agree that he's not that great when it comes to philosophical and sociological analysis and debate. D. Landon Cole pwned the crap out of him a while back. I actually pwned the crap out of him as well on Bug TV to a lesser degree, but no one filmed that. I was gutted. But the guy's just inept when it comes to philosophical debate, to the point where he tried to literally argue that philosophy is genetic. That sounds ridiculous. How could he possibly do that, you ask? Well, the guy said antinatalism is an idea, a philosophy that will never spread because the antinatalists don't have kids. So they're not going to pass their genetic philosophy. I don't know. Their philosophy genes aren't going to be passed on to another generation because they're not having kids. Do I need to explain why that's so retarded? Really? So either he's not thought about it at all and he's just giving flippant, out of his arse answers to this bollocks without thinking about it, or he really thinks philosophy is hereditary. Which one is it, Thunderfoot? You're either a troll or a fucking idiot. So no wonder Gary gets frustrated during these debates, because I'm sure he goes into them as well with an open mind, thinking, there's a chance to talk with some people with some brains. Well, compared to, like the other fuckers that he's had to deal with. Your average internet, citizen. But yeah, these guys, Aaron Ra, DPR, certainly, these are the kind of guys that you think are going to give you a fair crack of the whip, but it's depressing to see that they failed to do that, to give it a fair crack of the whip, these arguments. I mean, you've got Aaron Ra. Aaron Ra made the argument, well, I'm happy, I enjoy my life. And what? What is that answering to? Which part of the debate are you trying to deconstruct there and work against by saying that you've enjoyed your life? This is about an assessment of what life is as a phenomenon. It's not a commentary on you being lucky enough to be in a position to be able to enjoy your life and pursue pleasure or whatever, right? I mean, leaving aside the equation that, yeah, you are lucky enough to be in that position to be able to say that. If you'd have been born in a different part of the world, to different parents, in a different time, or with a disease, or with a different deformity, or anything else that could have happened to you, then you might not be saying this, okay? So you are lucky to be in that position, to be sat in your living room on the internet talking about how great your life is. But this isn't a commentary on that. This talk about a risk equation, this analysis of what life is, these further consequences of recognizing that we came from unintelligent design, this bigger picture analysis of what life is as a phenomenon has nothing to do with your ability to enjoy a day in the park, okay? I don't think it's that complicated, but yeah, there was a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, Gary's depressed, Gary's an arsehole, how he raised his voice, oh, I don't like him, what a horrible person. What is that? That's not philosophy. Even if we gave you the benefit of the doubt and said, oh yeah, this guy is objectively a nasty person, despite the fact he's vegetarian and the main crux of his whole argument is reduction of suffering and caring for the value of sentient creatures, but apart from all that, yeah, let's say this guy's fucking horrible, right? What does that do to argue against the philosophical arguments being brought? It doesn't. You just took an easy road out, and yeah, these atheists. I want to get to the point that I want to make in this video. The reason I think these people find it so difficult to encounter and deal with fairly these ideas, let alone accept them. I mean, even just to argue against them fairly, logically, instead of just conjuring up some psychological, subjective, personal justification for your own, your own enjoyment of the roller coaster. I know I'm rambling a bit. Okay, the reason I think these people find it so difficult to argue against this stuff is because page 1 of the atheist playbook on the internet, on YouTube, has been for a long time to argue against theists and say that, we don't need your God to be happy. We don't need your God, your religion, to have purpose. We don't need your God, your religion, to appreciate beauty. So in fact, pretty much all atheist arguments, when it's touched on these matters, these existential questions, assessment of life, existence, universe, everything, when it's come to those questions, page 1 of the atheist playbook has been to say, we don't need your God or religion to be happy, to have purpose, and to see beauty. Okay? And that makes sense, because what you're trying to do, at least, is to convince theistic people they don't need that. They can shed those layers. They can shed the dogma. They can shed the God, the religions. They don't need that to be happy and fulfilled and live a positive, fulfilling life, right? That's been the playbook. And that's a logical stance to take. So that when they come up against a philosophy, a set of arguments that describe life, again, life as a phenomenon, as a mechanical structure, not your own personal life, not your day in the sun, okay, it's not talking about that, right? When they come up against a set of arguments that describe life as a phenomenon, the mechanics of life as inherently, or not something to revere, at least, you don't even have to go as far as saying negative, just something that is legitimately questionable. Unintelligent design has consequences. When you recognise that something is based on unintelligent design, that are consequences that go beyond rejecting a sky daddy, okay? It allows you to question, be critical of life as a phenomenon, yeah? And that's what this comes down to, and it's just trying to make a philosophical and observed analysis of what it is. So yeah, it's not a popularity contest, but if these atheists that have spent their whole debating career arguing against theists and saying that we don't need God and yet we're still happy, yeah, we don't need God and yet we still love looking at the sky, yeah, when they come up against this, that destroys one of their main arguments. Because then if they were to accept this, what do they then do next time they argue with theists? Yeah, I'm godless and I think life's shit. Well, that's not going to convince many theists, is it? So I think that is a key reason as to why a lot of these people can't fairly listen to these arguments. Again, arguments that are nothing to do with your ability to enjoy yourself. That's before you get even into, the whole fact of we're looking at the big picture here. So even if you're sat on your throne of privilege, able to enjoy life, not like the majority of people throughout time and across the world, certainly not like the majority of sentient creatures across the world and throughout time. Yeah. You're sat on a mountain of skulls to drink your wine. When you look at it like that, when you look at the history, we're talking about life, the whole history, the whole story, right? Not your little day in the sun, talking about the whole story and what it is, where it came from, what it means, what it's made out of, right? It's a big debate. So forget about the fact that you like to go on the swings and that you're able to go on some swings, right? Forget that. It's not about that. You can recognize that you're sat on a mountain of skulls and still enjoy yourself sat up there. It's not your fault. It's not your fault you're here on that mountain of skulls. So don't take it personally. And that's one of the key points being made as well. You didn't ask to get here. You weren't asked to get here. Human history is littered with shit we should be fucking ashamed of. And that's a whole different video, really. Because you could say, well, what if it wasn't? Yeah, what if it wasn't? What if human history has been filled with across the board benevolence and generosity and caring and innovation? It was only positive, and no destruction, no damage, no pollution, no war, even if all that shit was wiped out and the whole history of humanity had been completely benevolent, you'd still be able to recognize the consequences that go of recognizing that we came from unintelligent design. You'd still be able to make an assessment of what those consequences are of recognizing that fact. And it wouldn't have to be. You can have a critical analysis of what it is, and that's not contradictory to you being able to enjoy yourself whilst you're here. But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, you didn't ask to be brought here. So you don't need to take it personally when people start saying, that there's certain truths about the nature of life as a phenomenon, not your life necessarily. You could be a cunt, and then it is about you. No, seriously. So I just want to sum up, because I know I've been a bit rambly in this vid, but it was frustrating to see them treat that argument with such disrespect and vacuous answers. You'd hope to get better from intellectuals like that. I mean, yeah, Christina came on later after Gary, and they didn't. Obviously, they're all friends, so of course it's gonna be a bit of a different conversation anyway, because they're all buddies. But she has quite a lot of similar ideas, and they didn't treat what she was saying with nearly as much of disrespect, or flippancy rather. Although I do still think they gave some ridiculous answers. Yeah, they still gave some ridiculous answers to what Christina was saying. But yeah, this isn't about Gaza, right? There's a lot of bloody people throughout time. The Greek philosophers, your Benatars, your Schopenhauers. There's a lot of people that try and have an objective. People hate that word. But leave your psychology out of an assessment of what life is. Yeah. True story. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of other stuff I wanted to say on this, and that's been a bit rambly. But yeah, that's it for now. I don't want to go over 15 minutes because it takes ages to upload. Alright guys, bye bye.